Hello there and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Hub here at SPTV. I'm your host, Will Haroldson, and alongside me today is my partner, Brody Kupsky. We have a lot to get into today, like the Pointers baseball team's brutal tripleheader, the Bucks stealing Game 1 in Boston, and recapping the Green Bay Packers draft. All of this when we return. After a weekend of less than favorable baseball weather, the Pointers had to take place in an extremely rare tripleheader game against the UW-Platteville Pioneers. The Pointers sit in second place in the WIAC behind UW-Whitewater with just one series left to go in the season. If the Pointers are able to run the table and win out, they would potentially win their first WIAC title since 2011. So Brody, I know we talked about it last week how important these last few series are. So let's kind of talk about the challenges of playing such an important series and having to wait as the game is postponed twice and turned into a tripleheader. Well, what can that do to someone's psyche about, we were supposed to play Saturday, we were supposed to play Sunday, but now we have to play 3 games on Monday and 1 game on Tuesday.
Definitely, it could be huge because you're kind of moving back, the inevitable. Pointers baseball is on a hot streak right now, so it's hard to say that they won't win a game. But moving it back kind of, deteriorates, the physicality of their team. I would say they play a weekend series against Oshkosh, I believe this coming weekend. So you go from playing Monday and Tuesday, and you got a little bit of a break, Wednesday and Thursday, and then you got to play Friday and Saturday. So there's not a whole lot of time to, take a break, and kind of get focused for the next series. So it's definitely going to be huge on them to win these last few games, especially if they want to win WIAC conference championship, because they have the potential to do it. They just got to win them all.
Right, and as of right now, I think it would be a shared championship with Whitewater, since they wouldn't have the outright over them since they lost the season series 3-1. But let's kind of look at some stats here. Obviously, they're 26-6 overall, which is amazing to be at that point. They had a fantastic April, only losing 2 games in that entire month. In conference, they're 17-5. They've won 2 overall. They're 13-1 at home, 2-3 away, and 11-2 neutral. They had to play a lot of neutral sites because weather was less than favorable here up in Stevens Point.
Big shocker there.
Right, I know, right? But statistically, the Pointers have a lot of guys who are just hitting the stitches off the baseball this season. That bodes well for a postseason run because obviously you want to have good pitching, but if you're able to really get into that opposing pitcher's head, that can do wonders for you.
Exactly. You look at MLB teams who can hit very well. I mean, they're threats for playoff contention, but it'll come down to pitching for Pointers. If they can't pitch themselves out of an inning, that'll let up runs, and that'll make it harder for them to come back. Not saying that they can't come back, because it's been shown that they can come back from games with their hitting. But as you look at the stats here, I mean, guys are averaging over 350. There's 4 guys are averaging over 350. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty solid for 4 guys.
Right. There's 8 guys in general hitting over 240. It's been incredible. Leading average of the season goes to Peyton Nelson. He's got a 352 average, which is just absurd to be at that point. Obviously, there's a lot of baseball to go in the rest of the season, but kind of focusing back on the WIAC itself, Whitewater sits up front 20-3 in the WIAC, 28-6 overall. So Pointers overall only 2 games behind, but 3 games behind in WIAC. So it's not impossible, but do you worry about focusing too much on trying to get that championship when maybe it's not in reach anymore? Is that something that you even concern yourself about?
I mean, they did lose the 2 games against Whitewater. Was it last Tuesday? Last Tuesday. So it's kind of hard to say that they'll win it outright. But I feel like you should, play strong enough the rest of the season in order to, keep a, good mind into maybe WIAC playoffs. So I guess for them, I wouldn't worry too much about trying to win a championship. Yeah, it'd be nice, but you're also you might tie it. So
right.
it's not a big deal if you don't win it,
Yeah, looking statistically, Whitewater has been playing out of their minds. They've won 13 straight games. But something the Pointers have that could benefit them going into postseason-wise, they're 13-2 in neutral site games. The only team that has more wins in the WIAC is Stout. They have 1 more win and 4 more losses. So let's kind of talk a bit about how big winning in a neutral site can be, because you're not always going to have your home team behind you. I mean, look at Whitewater's 13-2 at home. They do the majority of their winning at home.
Definitely.
How big can that neutral site be?
Neutral sites, I mean, it's not, okay, we play a home game, you have that home crowd. You might have a little bit of a away crowd, but it's majority home crowd. Having a neutral site, it's kind of, half and half, maybe a little bit more on one side, depending on where you are. But it's definitely big having those neutral site wins, because you'll have maybe more fans and you'll have more confidence when you're playing there, depending on where you play.
Sure.
So, I mean, I feel like they'll be good in neutral sites, depending on where they play, and they'll have the fans there to cheer them and support them. So I wouldn't be too worried if I were the Pointers.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss the Bucks' Game 1 performance against the Celtics, so don't go away.
The Media Studies is a program for people who love to tell stories, whether that be in written form, visual, or audio.
Media Studies is exciting because it's always fresh, it's always new.
Media is at the center of everything we do. More and more people are asked to engage with media and use media. Our program really provides students with skills and techniques to be better prepared for that in the future.
We offer courses in media production, both video and audio, nonfiction and fiction, music production, journalism, film studies.
Media Studies is a great way to get hands-on experience in the field that you're looking to do. They teach you the basic concept behind everything, and then they tell you to go do it.
We really pride ourselves on thinking of a wide set of opportunities that we can give our students.
The student organizations are a great asset. We have SPTV, the student television organization, 90 FM, the radio, and the Pointer, our student-run newspaper.
It's a great way for students to get involved, learn skills that they need for class, and meet new people.
Some great facilities where our students can hone their skills.
There's a giant studio in the center of the comm building. I've had quite a few classes in there.
A lot of our classes are very hands-on, they're very interpersonal.
You're getting the skills that will allow you to create your future, and I think that's what makes it a truly amazing experience for students.
There's an incredible range of options for graduates. We've had students go out and become independent contractors, work for radio stations, newspapers, with TV stations.
Everyone is different and they have their own unique style. In all the classes and all the student organizations you get involved in, you have a lot of flexibility to really create your own work and do it in a way that means something to you.
We're excited to see what students are making and what they want to make, and how we can help students get from where they are to where they want to be.
I'm in a video production class that's teaching me how to film documentaries. I'm also in a screenwriting class and I get to learn how to write movies. So I'm doing all these different cool things and I love it every day.
The reigning champion Milwaukee Bucks captured a huge win on Sunday when they headed up to Boston and beat the Celtics 101-89. The most impressive thing of the Bucks played without their star Khris Middleton, who was out with a sprained MCL. The Bucks played dominant defense to limit Jason Tatum and completely shut down Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. So Brody, I'll ask you this: what was the most impressive thing in Game 1 in your eyes?
I would say Giannis Antetokounmpo was phenomenal. I mean, some guys are even saying after the game, I mean, it's hard to stop him. I mean, he's throwing balls off the backboard and slamming them in. I mean, as per usual with Giannis. But looking at some of the stats here, I mean, he went off for 24 points, 13 rebounds, and 12 assists for a triple-double, which is insane. And not just him. Drew Holiday had 25 points by himself with 5 assists and 9 rebounds. And guys like Bobby Portis, they're also doing good. Grayson Allen off the bench had 11. Pat Connaughton with 8, and Javon Carter even with 7.
Let's sorry to interrupt you, but let's talk a little bit about Grayson Allen here. He has been a huge part of this postseason run so far. After the injury of Khris Middleton, he's really stepped up to be that other guard. Obviously, there's a two-guard in situation with Giannis can take the ball up the court sometimes, but also Drew does it as well. But let's kind of talk to the advantages it can have on having a Pat Connaughton or a Grayson Allen to come off the bench and give you some solid points. I mean, Grayson Allen for 2 games against the Chicago Bulls went off for 25-plus points. And so having that extra threat, that can do wonders for you, especially when you're the underdog in a series.
Exactly. For the Bucks, I mean, it's good to have a guy off the bench that can come and, be kind of like a starter almost. With Grayson Allen, I mean, yeah, we talk about the Bull series. He was insane. Coming off the bench, scoring 20 or more points. He's been kind of the guy to go. He's been the go-to guy for the Bucks, especially for how hated he is. I got to give Grayson Allen a lot of credit for what he's doing for the Bucks.
Without question, and there's always that Wisconsin fan in you that still hurts from when he took over in that national championship game, but got to support him since he's playing for the Bucks now. But against the Celtics this season, Bucks went 2-2, winning both games at home and losing both games away. So winning the first game away, that's huge for confidence-wise, especially because you're the underdog. You got to feel disrespected in a way. You're the reigning NBA champions, and you're not favored in the series.
Well, definitely, it might be a small market mentality with the Bucks, because the Boston Celtics are this world-class championship team. They've won 17, and they have the stars like Jason Tatum, Al Horford's pretty good, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. So they have all this talent. But for a team like the Bucks, I mean, a lot of, like last year against the Nets, a lot of ESPN reporters and different reporters didn't believe in the Bucks, which, I mean, for us, are like, well, we believe in them. They're a good enough team to beat guys like, Kevin Durant and James Harden and Kyrie Irving in the playoffs. So it's nice to get that win in Boston to show that the Bucks mean business in the playoffs.
Right. And let's just, statistically, we talked about how dominant their defense was. The Bucks forced 18 turnovers in game 1. And we talked about the Celtics. They swept the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving led Nets. They scored over 100 points in every game. They scored 115, 114, 109, 116. They scored 89 against the Bucks. That's how good that defense was. And Coach Bud, he just knows how to just take a defense and just take it to the next level, especially Drew Holiday. He could have had an argument to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, exactly. You look at a team like the Nets, I mean, they have all this talent, Durant, Kyrie Irving. I mean, well, when Ben Simmons is playing, he's talented, but he's got to be playing. Right. So it's tough to win against a team like that with all the superstars, and then going against a Bucks team with Chris Middleton's out. They have guys like Bobby Portis starting. I mean, Bobby Portis a few years ago was like a nobody pretty much. Mm-hmm. And to lose to a team like that, it's kind of heartbreaking almost. It's hard to lose to a team who, I mean, doesn't have the big superstar names. I mean, besides, Giannis, maybe Drew Holiday's a superstar. Brook Lopez kind of used to be a superstar, right, kind of in between there. So it's hard on the Celtics to, sweep a good team like the Nets and then lose to the Bucks in one. I mean, it's one game only.
Right,
but
it's one game, but still, to have a team come in to your home court and just flat out outplay you, outmuscle you. It looked like, the Boston Celtics against the Nets were just completely outmuscling. And it just, to your point, like, being as a fan of watching the game, you want to, obviously you favor the Bucks, but when you think of like the Celtics, what could they do to stop Giannis? 6'11", and if he gets into the down low into the post, or if he's running down the court, it's like you can't stop him. You really, really can't. It's like almost like Shaq in his heyday when he got down low in the post. It's just you can't do anything.
Oh no, it's pretty much over once he gets down in the post. I mean, he's athletic. He can move the ball. Now he can even shoot a little bit.
Right.
I mean, he's taking 3-point shots, and he's making some of them. Besides, I mean, he went 0 for 2 in this game, but he could still shoot.
Right. There's the threat of it is still there. Right. Game 2 will be this Tuesday, May 3rd at 6 p.m. on TNT. We're going to take one final break, and when we come back, we'll have our final segment, the Packers Draft Recap, so don't go away.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
After last week's 7-round NFL draft, the Green Bay Packers and their fans are happy with the outcome. With 11 picks, the Packers looked at filling the spots that they lost in the offseason. So, Brody, let's go through these picks, and I'll have you give me your opinion on what you thought at the time and where you think they'll fit. So, in the first round, the Packers had 2 picks. They had Quay Walker, inside linebacker from Georgia, and Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle from Georgia. So they went Bulldogs in the first round. But losing Zadarius Smith, and you'll replace him assumingly with Quay Walker. So that was pretty good first round, all things considered.
I mean, a lot of people were saying, oh, they should get a receiver and they should really splurge on a receiver. And I was kind of part of that. I'm like, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of receiving, but a guy like Quay Walker, I mean, he's a solid inside linebacker. He was on a team that won a national championship, so he has that, championship mentality in him, and he should be a good fit, replace Zadarius in the defense, and even Devontae Wyatt. I mean, it'll help Kenny Clark. I couldn't think of his name.
There you go. You got it.
I couldn't think of it. It will help, relieve Kenny Clark of, some downs, some snaps to play, because, I mean, Devontae Wyatt's a beast on the defense.
It's a big guy, right? Yeah, he's a big guy. He definitely takes up a lot of space. But there was a lot of emphasis on the Packers having to get new wide receivers, obviously, because of the loss of Devontae Adams being traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. So they picked up 2 wide receivers in Christian Watson, the wide receiver from North Dakota State. They got him in the second round. A lot of people thought he could have been a first rounder. And then they got Samori Toure, the wide receiver from Nebraska. So it'll be interesting to see where those 2 fit into the scheme, because right now the Packers have Alan Lazard, they have Randall Cobb, and they lost Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He went to the Chiefs, and Devontae to the Raiders. So it'll be interesting to see where these new guys fit in to that. Do you have any idea on whether or not you think they'll just be – they're not going to be day one starters, but they could see some solid play time.
I would say like Christian Watson, I mean, like we were saying, he could have been a first-round pick. But even they also picked a guy in the 4th round, Romeo Dubes from Nevada. So he might also get a little bit of playing time here and there. Who knows? The thing about the NFL draft, it's hard to gauge where they are right now. Mm-hmm. Once we get to the season, it's a little bit easier to say, oh, this guy is going to be a first game starter. This guy will be, a role player, and he might get in here and there. But for guys like Watson, Dubes, and Toure, they should be pretty solid wide receivers. Maybe Watson might be a first game starter. Who knows? With the lack of receivers, not that we don't have any receivers. Alan Lazard's a beast.
But the depth has been the problem.
It's good to have depth with the team.
Right. I know they reloaded a little bit on the offensive line, too. They got Shane Ryan, the offensive lineman from UCLA. They got Zach Tom, lineman from Wake Forest. They also picked up a few more defensive guys. Kingsley Igambare, the outside linebacker from South Carolina. And they got Jonathan Ford, defensive tackle from Miami. So really they went all over the place in this draft, going offense, defense, not really many special teams, but they really, I would say, my grade for this draft would be 80-85% on. They really went after positions they do need, and I think that in general, Aaron Rodgers, the MVP, should have a lot to be happy about. Especially they got Sammy Watkins also in free agency over the offseason, so the future for the Packers should be pretty bright.
I would say definitely. For the offensive line picks, it's definitely good to have them because last year the offensive line got hurt a ton. I mean, Elton Jenkins got hurt for the rest of the season. Guys had to be shifted around to different positions they've never really, played, like tackles playing at guard. Some guys had to move to center. So it's definitely huge to pick up these guys, and some of these guys that are on defense, linebackers, and they also picked a safety who might also convert to linebacker during the season. It's definitely good to have this depth for the Packers. And as Rodgers, I'd be happy. I mean, you don't have the superstar wide receiver like Devonta Adams anymore, but for him, he should be happy that we have these guys that might show up first day and be ready to play game one.
Right. Obviously, Rodgers has a connection with Randall Cobb, but Sammy Watkins a few years ago, he was up there for one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So we'll see how that acquisition goes. Like I said, I like this draft. I thought they did well, and it should be fun to see how they play this season. They should be another really entertaining team. Well, that'll do it for yet another episode of the Sports Hub. I want to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to check out our other content here at SPTV. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.